Hey, what's ready? Welcome back to News Dose, and I mean, what do you know? We have more leaks for Xbox. Yeah, it's been like this pretty much all year, just everything is leaking out right now, and today, we actually have two more. One for Xbox Cloud Gaming, and then the other is allegedly an exclusive next-generation feature that Xbox is going to use to hook their fans in and to potentially keep them from hopping to another platform. So, stick around, we're going to get into all of that, plus a big PlayStation IP that officially got its release date. First, though, I do want to thank my supporters on Patreon and on YouTube memberships. Thank you just so much for what you do, and you will receive this video through early access. Let's go get right into things, though, starting off with the Far Cry series. If this is a franchise that you like, then, I have some pretty good news for you because they are seemingly teasing a 60 FPS update for 3 different entries. They posted this cryptic message over on Twitter, which seems to read Far Cry 3, Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, and Far Cry Primal. In fact, they've already confirmed that Far Cry 3 and Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon will receive 60 FPS updates on January 21st. So now we're just kind of waiting for a Primal confirmation, but either which way, this is fantastic news. I always love when we get these 60 FPS updates for games from last generation because a lot of games on the PlayStation 4 and on the Xbox One still looks great to this day. Their biggest flaw is more so just the frame rate, and this more or less brings them up to modern day standards and gives them a new breath of life. If only Sony would figure out how to do that with games like Gravity Rush 2 and, of course, Bloodborne. Just throwing those two out there. Come on, Sony, let's make it happen. But at the very least, Ubisoft is doing good work for their fans. Oh, and speaking of Sony, according to Famitsu, Ghost of Yotei has now surpassed 200,000 physical units in Japan, which is actually fairly good at first glance. That makes it the second best-selling PlayStation 5 game for 2025 in Japan, only behind Monster Hunter Wilds. The thing is that Yotei has still just sold a fraction of what Ghost of Tsushima has sold. Tsushima actually topped 1 million units in Japan, so Yotei is still far behind that number, and that's been a big talking point for Yotei early on in its life cycle. I don't really think that there's a question of if it's been profitable for Sony. Everything indicates that, yes, it has put up some good, solid numbers, and we know that Sucker Punch handled its budget very well. So I'm sure that Sony and Sucker Punch have made a lot of money from this game. But ultimately, the question is how will it compare to Ghost of Tsushima when all is said and done? Tsushima was such a massive hit for a brand new IP, and I'm sure that Sony wanted that momentum to carry over into Yotei and to grow game over game. However, that seemingly hasn't been the case so far. We'll see in time. This is still early on in its life cycle. But again, this is still a really good, solid number, no matter how you slice it. Let me know what you think about this, though. Do you think that Sony is happy with Yotei so far, or do you think that they're a bit disappointed that it hasn't grown game over game? That isn't quite all for Sony, though, because they also announced the release date for Bungie's Marathon, and also a new controller and a new headset to pair with its launch. Yeah, they're going all out for Marathon, which makes a lot of sense given that they paid billions of dollars to acquire Bungie. Their expectations are sky high for this studio. But yeah, you can see the controller here, and I actually like it. For a long time this generation, I've criticized Sony's controller design team, but they've really stepped up here in the past couple of years with controllers for Spider-Man, Astrobot, the recent Hyperpop design, and now Marathon. It's a nice artsy design that fits very well into the Marathon art style that, well, they kind of stole, but yeah, we're not going to talk about all of that today. If you do want this controller, though, it goes for $85, and pre-orders will go live on January 29th. Of course, though, you can also pre-order the headset, though it will set you back $170. So you'll have to pay quite a bit to own both, which, if you do, then I assume you're also going to want the game as well, which is officially slated for March 5th. So there you go. Marathon is almost finally here. And, I think this will be one of the most interesting and fascinating launches of the year. Just kind of given the circumstances, there's a lot riding on this game for both Bungie and for Sony. Again, Sony paid billions of dollars to own Bungie, and Destiny hasn't exactly delivered on their expectations thus far. So Marathon is kind of in a tough position. It really has to deliver, and so far, despite Bungie's reputation, reactions have not been strong online. So it's not necessarily a surefire hit like you would think from a studio like Bungie, especially at its $40 price tag. If it would have been free to play, then I'm sure that despite the poor online reaction, people would have still at least tried it. But now I think it's kind of in a situation where it needs to get good ratings and also good word of mouth right out of the gate, because otherwise, just like a lot of other live service games, it could quickly fall to the wayside. What do you think, though? Do you have high hopes for Marathon or not? All right, now let's just go talk about Xbox, though, because they were hit by even more leaks. Yeah, they might want to hire Mario by this point, because their 2026 has been filled to the brim with leaks. Regardless, though, the first leak comes from Jez Corden. He's always a good, reputable source for Xbox-related leaks, and he recently claimed that they are looking to make a big change to their Xbox Cloud gaming service. In a report, he said that, as I reported last year, Microsoft has been exploring ads for Xbox Cloud Gaming, and while seeking clarification about this message, it was confirmed to me that ads will appear separately on Xbox Cloud Gaming for those who have purchased Xbox games digitally but don't have Xbox Game Pass. Microsoft has hundreds of games available to buy via Xbox Cloud Gaming, but as of this writing, you need to at least own one tier of Xbox Game Pass to access them. This session-based, ad-supported access tier will change that. And honestly, I'm a bit surprised that we haven't already seen them do this. Microsoft is a leading company for cloud-based technology, and even back during the Xbox One era, there was a lot of conversation and discussion about cloud gaming and how it was going to be the future of gaming, and that Xbox was going to kind of lead the way. Now, I would argue that NVIDIA ended up being the go-to platform for cloud gaming, or at least when it comes to just sheer quality. But I will say that Xbox's priorities seems to be more on the side of accessibility. They want Xbox to be absolutely everywhere, whether that be on your phone, your TV, or just wherever you have a device. Their motto is that everything is an Xbox, but one issue that they've had up to this point is that customers can't just simply buy one game and then access it through the cloud. Instead, they have to be subscribed to Game Pass, which limits who will and will not play those games. But this new ad-based tier would fix that problem for them. Now you'll finally be able to buy that one specific supported game that you want, and then you can just play it without the need of a subscription. Now, what will be interesting to see with all this is how they handle its ads, because if it takes you out of the experience too much, then it might not be too successful. It is important for them to balance this idea fairly well. That way they don't annoy their customers. But yeah, it does kind of seem like all of this could happen maybe sometime soon. Now, to me, though, the more exciting leak comes from Ecstasis TV. Now, he's not quite as reputable as Jez Corden. He has gotten some information correct in the past, but admittedly, his leaks don't necessarily carry the same weight as Jez Corden. So I will say, take this information with a grain of salt. But what's happening here is that he claimed that Xbox is currently overhauling their achievement system. Now, right away, this is something that I've wanted them to do for years, especially with a platinum-like achievement. I do prefer trophies because I think the platinum trophy is just more rewarding. So I'm hoping that we'll see a similar achievement from Xbox in the future. But instead, Ecstasis TV pointed to two different things that they're currently doing. One is that they're rebooting, or I guess rebranding, the visual aesthetic of your achievements. So as one such example, an achievement might come with, let's say, a dynamic theme of you collecting said achievement that you can then set for your Xbox background. I mean, that's actually a pretty cool idea, that you could actually capture a moment in time for your background. So I like that idea. The bigger part about this, though, is that he claimed that his sources told him that Xbox wants to allow gamers to convert their achievements to Microsoft reward points. So basically, you could then pay for more Xbox games by simply collecting Xbox achievements. Now, Xbox already does this to some degree, but what he said is that this feature will be exclusive to the next generation Xbox because they want to use it as a hook to keep their fan base tied to their store. And that's been a big question early on because from everything that we know, the next Xbox will support storefronts like Steam as one such example. And for fans, that is incredibly exciting. But some people have pointed out, well, if that's the case, then why not just buy everything on Steam instead? Well, this might be that reason. If you buy your games on the Xbox Store, and if you collect a lot of Xbox achievements, well, then you might be able to get games cheaper on the Xbox Store, depending on how they handle it, than you would on Steam. So, yeah, this could be fairly significant, but what do you think? Do you think this sounds like a good idea or not? Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode, but until next time, make sure to subscribe, ring that bell, and peace out.